But if your Obi goes it alone, right? The only surprise you can give to them is when they begin to announce fake results. You do not let them do that. And historically, that one itself, with the way Nigeria is today, an Igbo man being rigged out by a Yoruba man, and then his own supporters, an Igbo man, because this is the optics, so sure you get. So an Igbo man and his supporter says they should not announce the election results. Historically, that took and fuel wherever, but I'm not speculating. I'm just saying that the only surprise you can give to them now is to show that you're actually more than them, and you are not this Igbo, this Yoruba, that, like you are saying, like obedient are, right? You are not Igbo, this Yoruba, that Hausa, this Fulani. Yabi, you are obedient and you are from everywhere. Then it will be the time to actually stand up and show that. That's the only surprise you can give them. We will vote them, vote and die, rig and die, all those talk, right? You need to follow. You need to actually be willing to follow that up with action. You actually need to now show number. So imagine when you say no, and you have in Kano, you're having, okay, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out. I want to paint a picture, that a possibility picture, something that is realistic, okay? So let's say in northern Nigeria, they say Peter Obi is leading out of 19 states. He's already leading in 7. Or, in fact, guaranteed he's going to win 7. And that includes the Middle Belt too. So, in the southern part of Nigeria, out of the 17 states, Peter Obi is already leading in 14 of them. And it's certain that he's going to win. I'm just using the scenario that you, the obedient, I'm talking to you, the obedient now, watching me, right? So now they started announcing fake results. And boom, about 20 states, you already have more than 50,000 people. And the state with the smallest voters or protesters that are out and saying, no, we reject that nonsense. You won't do it again. We won't let you do it again. Out of, let's say, 20, you have them in 20 states. The smallest gathering is about 10,000, 20,000 people. You have 100,000 in Port Harcourt. You have like maybe 500,000 in Rivers, Port Harcourt. You have in Lagos, you have like 1 million people on the streets. Even the Ronukus will run away. They know they work for free. All those crumbs that they give them. Those of you who see them online backing like like a shark. And then burn you we'll show you, all those nonsense they are doing online, right? You need to actually be willing to be up madness for madness. You get what I mean? So that moment, nobody's going to say, oh, it's an Igbo man that is this, or it's you know what I mean? They will be like, this is the moment. That's the only shock out. Even if they bring their soldiers out, at that point, Baba, it's going to be a turning point. That is the thing you should be working on. And I promise you, from what I have seen so far, they're actually planning that. It is a different topic if they do it or they don't do it. They're actually planning that. Just for your information. So if I have any Ronuku watching or listening right now, there may be a lot than what some of you have been so used to. Permutation, all this permutation and all that, right? Right. So Peter Obi sat with, we are talking about the obedience now, okay? So Obi sat with Rufai, and they were talking about the state of Nigeria. And it was that moment he sort of like responded. Those who claim that, why is everybody, or you, the obedient, why are you so angry with Tifnubu? As if to say now, you, the obedient, you are the only ones affected by the removal of subsidy, which they gave to themselves, which is actually renamed. There is no removal of any subsidy in that regard, in truest sense of it, right? But people were saying, these guys were saying, hey, but Obi said he was going to also remove it. You get what I mean now? So Rufai sat with him. They spoke about all this stuff. Most of these things, he probably spoken about them before, right? But somehow, all he said in his recent interview seems to have triggered the APC again, right? So he also said something about the money saved in Anambra, his own sort of like a trademark. integrity. And out of those, his own class, the ex-governors in Nigeria, he seemed to be one of those who no longer get, who actually don't receive what they call pension for governors. He spoke about a lot of things, so we'll take them one after the other and react to them, okay? And yeah, there's the first part. I think this is the one about the removal of a subsidy, what he would have done differently, right?
And it is documented and everything. It was there. I was surprised when you said this is about Christians. They should have even said some things that I said. I did that was positive, or I said I was positive. But let me tell you, I've consistently maintained that I would have removed the fuel subsidy. If you go to my manifesto, it's there. Steps I would have taken to do it in an organized manner. There was nothing wrong in removal of subsidy. What is wrong is the haphazard way in which it was announced and implemented. Everybody knows that the subsidy regime was a solution of criminality, that there was a lot of corruption surrounded with it, which you needed to bundle that aspect out of it, do it in an organized manner. And since you're doing it for savings, we're told we're doing it because we don't want to continue to borrow to continue the subsidy. And the removal of it will be able to have available funds to be invested in critical area of development. With honest things, billions saved. Where is it? Where is he invested in those critical areas of development?
You said they've given the money to the governors. That's what?
No.
They said they've increased their FAC allocation.
Fine.
They said most of the states have been able to pay their bill.
Everybody knows what critical areas of development is. And I say it morning, afternoon, night. It is education, health, and pulling people out of poverty. Rufai, is any of these three, has it improved? No.
The Minister of Health said they're getting new primary health care centers. As regards education, they said they have done NEL Fund, where they give student loan to people. As regards infrastructure, they talk about Postal Road and other things.
Let me just finish, Rufai. What I'm saying is, if you look at this, so you have removed this. People are paying more for fuel. It has escalated cost of everything, and we are not seeing where. The same thing with what you're talking about, issue of Naira. There's nothing wrong with floating your currency. There's nothing wrong in even devaluing your currency. But you do this when you have productivity. What devaluation of floating does is that your currency becomes, in terms of value, low. You attract investment. Your products becomes unmarketable. But where we are unproductive, you have nothing to sell. So it's a double whammy. So in all this, I would have done the same thing in an organized manner. And when people say alternative economic policies, I was surprised.
Okay. So that was him there explaining that he would have done it in an organized manner. You, is a critic who probably don't understand economics and all that. Maybe I can help. I'm not an economist, but layman kind of explanation, just for these conversations, conversational sake or for educational sake or purpose. He is right. You know what is lacking in that contraption, like in truest essence of it, right, is sincerity, like honesty that is expected of public servants. Because you see the name? Public servants. You are serving the public. Everything you are doing there, you are doing it in trust for the. So you take loans to build infrastructures. The economy improves. The economy paybacks the loan. And the infrastructure continues to serve the people. And the government continues to make money from that. Loan is repaid. The stress of the loan on the economy, the burden of it is withdrawn. And the society continues to live peace. But that's not what you have in Nigeria. You know that. So when you take money and you designed ways of plundering it on bogus contracts, how can you explain taking the loan of $500 million? Just with the title from what bank? $500 million for women empowerment. And then you and I know what women empowerment means to this guy. Guys, $500 million. They took $270 million, right, to fund the End Malaria campaign. They had to borrow money for that. And you all know what that is. I'm only giving you these ones that kind of comes to my head, okay? But it's also right that if when they said they removed subsidy, okay, and you're like, you know what? This is how much you are losing to paying subsidy, but people are going to have to pay more. But here is the immediate sort of like support, medium support, or midterm rather, midterm support and long-term support. A plan in place because you are taking some money from some place, trying to reinvest them in certain place. And people are going to feel so discomfort, right? But it's just going to be for a certain time. So if there is trust, like honesty with their dealings and all of honesty in their dealings, by now, you would have started seeing, come on, man, look at Ghana. Mahama took office in January, right? And right now, the same Ghana cedis, right, is currently doing so good, so well, that it became so noticeable. Those little things have very massive impact on possible millions of people who have to make their daily living from the economy that stress on their currency is reducing. You can feel it when your currency is so stressed, inflation is so high. How are you coping? How are you surviving? Kind of. But these guys continue to sign up for conditions that will continue to harden and, you floated your currency. You don't have electricity. South Korea, their currency is one of the sort of like lowest currency of a thing in the world, right? But you all know about South Korea. You know about Samsung. You know about this electronic stuff and all of that, right? You know what happened? They devalued their currency. Then they make their country the destination of choice. They have peace. You know what I mean? It's not like they don't have corrupt people too. You understand? But policy-wise, when you lower that currency, you attract investors that believes that they could come and invest so much here. The labor is cheap or standard. And at the same time, in this space, you could make a lot of money. Why you create job for the economy, everybody is happy in a way. But that's not what you have in Nigeria. They devalued your currency. It is not because they want to do any policy to attract. No, it was because they wanted to take loan. That's why they devalued Nigerian currency. They call it floating the naira. They floated your naira because it is part of the conditions given to them to give them loan. It's not because you are working on any, because if it was, by now, you would have attracted reasonable investors that even Mayegun that criticizes them will not be able to deny it and say, right now, there is evidence of 150,000 jobs, real jobs, 200,000 jobs created in March. For, you know what I mean? Like traceable data. It's all lies. I have a story to tell you about a guy that just came back from Nigeria, by the way. And the guy is so mad. He's mad at so many of you that you go to Nigeria and you come back here and you begin to say, oh, everything is, it's getting better. You know, the airport is great. He has a cause for you, but we'll get to your own part. Then Obi spoke about investing in, investing in brewery, which has now become the primary source of revenue generation for his state today, and other things too. Because according to him, how do you think the road is more valuable than security? Because what is the essence of a road when you are practically not going to even drive on it because, you know, insecurity, this and that, right? We'll go to that one.
Breweries and everything. If I tell you what I suffered for that brewery to be built in Anambra State, you will not believe it. I had to go out trying to attract business to Anambra State. The biggest revenue earner in Enugu State is Ama Brewery. Ama Brewery in Enugu. The biggest earner, call it revenue source for Anambra today, is that brewery.
But you said the government stake that he invested had gone down, that it was not smart investment. Those are some of the things they say.
Thank you very much. I wish other people in Nigeria invested in something that went down. That's not smart. I said the biggest revenue earner, the very revenue source, is that brewery. That brewery is employing at least directly 500 Anambra people. That brewery is at least giving food to over 5,000 Anambrarians. Those who use it as business distributors, truck drivers, everything. I wish people are doing that. What we do is that we condemn what is that. Because of the way they've been treated, you know, they have the biggest brewery in Ogun State. Have you ever heard anybody say in Ogun State, oh, the brewery is this? They have a bigger brewery in Ogun State.
They say you brought poverty to Anambra. Those are the criticisms of Lagos State Governor recently. So they said, they say about they said, I think they accused you and they said under your tenure, poverty did increase and all of that. So you had no moral right to go to John Hopkins and talk about poverty.
Right, you are talking about narrow interest and narrow assessment. Go and look at Nigerian Competitive Index. Go and look at it. Before I was governor of Anambra State from 2006. And I was impeached. So you can say I was governor of Anambra State from 2007 to 2014, 7 years. I was effectively governor for 7 years. Because the first year I was removed, as you know. So I was governor for 7 years. Rufai, Nigeria as a country was a signatory to the global measure of development, which is Millennium Development Goal. That is the global thing. Nigeria was a signatory to it. Yeah. That is what made China to pull 439 million people out of poverty. That was made India to put over 150 million out of poverty. I can go on and on. But Nigeria was signatory to it. And it was signed in the year 2000. Rufai, I became governor in the year, started effective governance in 2007 after I came back from impeachment and tenure interpretation. By the time he ended in 2014, Anambra State under me was number 1. In terms of, this is not me who measured it. It was UNDP. I was even invited to